Attorney General Sessions, thank you so much for making some time for us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Buck, and congratulations on the new program.
Thank you very much. So immigration central to what this administration has been talking about from the very beginning. And there's been a lot of reporting recently about immigration policy as it affects our southern borders specifically. Can you tell us, is there a major change in policy now from Justice in regards to how women who are fleeing domestic abuse and or individuals in general who are fleeing gang violence, how they're being treated? Because I know this has been reported on recently.
We're really returning to the classical understanding of what asylum is. Asylum is not a claim that you've suffered a specific act of private violence or any other crime of that nature. It's really a systemic problem in which a group of people based on ethnicity or race or nationality or other such factors are oppressed in a given country and can't have legitimate life as a result of that. So that's what asylum is about. And so we've tried to move it back a bit to the classical definition of legitimate definition, I believe, of asylum.
And as you know, there's been a lot of reporting as well about separation of families, and people have been comparing the policies from the Department of Justice under the Obama administration to what's going on now. What is the truth, the reality of what is happening right now when minors arrive at the border accompanied by adults? What's happening to those individuals?
Well, what's happening is pretty dramatic at our border. 4 years ago, we had 15,000 families, adults with children, enter the country without proper papers. Now it's 75,000. It's increased fivefold. It's a real problem. The word has gotten out to around the world that if you come with your family, what will happen is, and has been happening, is that you are admitted into the country, set for some court date in the distant future, and you may or may not come back for that date depending on your own choice, but you're released into the United States. And so it's an effective way to enter the country unlawfully. So we've saying the law says if you come as an adult unlawfully into the country, you're subject to prosecution, and to the extent possible that you will be prosecuted. And we don't take children to the short-term detention with the adults, so they're kept essentially with the Department of Health and Human Services in a most decent and fair and careful program in which they have education, good food, health care, and schooling. So it's we think that we have to go forward with that because right now nothing is happening. You're getting in successfully, and that's why we've had this fivefold increase in numbers.
You mentioned individuals who stay beyond when they're supposed to because they don't show up for mandated court appearances once they've arrived at the southern border. How can that problem be tackled? Is this an issue of interior enforcement on the law enforcement side, or does this just cry out for a legislative fix, one that, as we all know, we have not had yet?
We need legislation. It's really, really gotten complicated. Court rulings, we have a 20-year-old consent decree that's just driving the Border Patrol crazy and frustrating so much of what we really need to do, and we can't seem to get that changed. So yes, we do need legislation, but we're going to use the laws that are on the books. We're going to proceed in a lawful and fair way. We're going to treat children carefully and help in a nice way, but adults who bring children here should not do so. What I've been pleading with the world is, if you want to come to America, make your claim and wait your turn. Don't bring children across this border through these dangerous conditions unlawfully. You will not be protected from prosecution, and if you don't have a good basis to claim asylum or legal entry in the United States, you'll be deported.
As you know, there's a much anticipated Inspector General report that people are saying will be released within a matter of days. There are a lot of people who are saying this will be a reckoning for some former senior administration officials. A lot of people are saying this will be a moment of truth when we'll finally get some transparency as to what had transpired prior to your time here as Attorney General. What can you tell us just about how you view these issues overall? Is this a necessary process for the American people to have full faith in the institutions like the Justice Department that they need to be functioning properly and honestly?
We have a high duty to the American people. People expect a great deal out of the Department of Justice, and they are right to do so. We are accountable to the people, we are accountable to Congress, and we intend to meet high standards. So this investigation actually began, I think, before I became Attorney General. Not I think, it did start then. And it's gone through quite a lot of effort. I think it'll be a lengthy report and a careful report. It will be released soon, and I think it will help us better fix any problems that we have and reassure the American people that some of the concerns that have been raised are not true.
You have notably recused yourself from anything having to do with the Russia collusion investigation and election interference from the Russians. Just wanted to ask, given that it seems that the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein may have been involved in the decision to fire James Comey as FBI Director, how is it that Rosenstein hasn't seen it fit to recuse himself from some of these ongoing investigations and processes?
Well, Rod, that decision really fell to me ultimately on the on the Comey matter. That's not a disqualifying thing. The recommendations we made on the dismissal of Comey resulted to his handling of certain cases that were laid out in his recommendation to me, or his analysis to me, and my recommendation to President Trump. I think it was the right thing to do, and the facts were pretty clear on it. He made a big mistake, and he testified only a few weeks before that termination that he would do it again if he had the opportunity. So we felt like there was a serious breach of discipline within the department if we allowed him to continue.
Are you confident that any disciplinary infractions unearthed in this upcoming IG report will in fact result in due consequences for individuals who may have stepped outside the bounds of their authority, who may have even acted in an unethical fashion? Because I think a lot of the American people right now are starting to worry that there's a protection ring of senior government officials prior to the Trump administration that feel like they're covering each other's backs more than they're looking for real honesty and transparency.
Well, let's discuss that. Yes, we did have an IG report from Mr. Horowitz, who will be making this report, about Mr. McCabe, who was Deputy Director at the time of the FBI, and I did act on that, and he was terminated. And if anyone else shows up in this report to have done something that requires termination, we will do so. But I have to say to you, American people need to know we've got a great new man, head of the FBI, the director, Chris Wray. He's a man of integrity and great ability who served in the Department of Justice before, but has been in private practice for a number of years. We've got a new deputy director. We've got a new chief of staff. We've got a new legal counsel. We've got a new communications director. The top people in the FBI have been changed now for months, and they are committed to affirming the high standards of the FBI. I know they're preparing to respond to any criticism that the Inspector General's report will make, and I know they're working to have improvements in the way the FBI operates. Overwhelmingly, the men and women of the FBI are fabulous patriots. They serve their country every day. They're highly talented and well trained, but we can't tolerate errors and impropriety, and we will not do so.
So no question in your mind that firing Andy McCabe from the FBI was necessary and the right decision?
It was the right decision. Mr. Horowitz, the IG, did a report that was very thorough. It went to the FBI's counsel group that reviewed it. They recommended to me he be terminated, and I acted on that recommendation and agreed with it and executed it.
I wanted to ask about the president's tweet, I believe, I was going to say statement, tweet, however we choose to put it, about possibly backing a legislative decriminalization of marijuana. We don't have much in the way of specifics on it. Is this something that your department might be involved in terms of policy discussion directly with the president on this. Can you just give us any sense of whether decriminalization of marijuana at the federal level, either from the enforcement side or from the legislative side, is really an agenda item the American people can look to in the months ahead?
Well, the law of the United States is clear. It remains a violation of the law in all 50 states. What I understood the president to have told Senator Cory Garner was that if a state legalizes marijuana, he may be supportive of legislation that would honor that state's decision.
So you have no expectations that at a federal level?
But he hasn't told that to me. It was that's what was reported in the papers.
Wanted to ask about your role in this administration. You were on the front lines in terms of the immigration issue. We've been talking about that. But there has been a lot of reporting, as you know, about strife within the upper reaches of the administration. The president's comments sometimes about the direction of DOJ haven't always seemed to be entirely supportive or helpful. How do you feel about how the relationship is right now for you as Attorney General, and also what keeps you motivated to stay in the role day in and day out?
Well, the key thing for me is that President Trump's view of what the department should be doing every day, whether it's crime, violent crime, opioids, whether it's immigration and other fraud and those kind of things, we are in real strong sync. Religious freedom, he's honored that. He's promised to protect religious freedom, and he's directed me to do so, all of which I thoroughly appreciate. We embrace it. Every day we are working to carry out that agenda. Actually, it's quite thrilling some days and difficult on other days. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of things happening that are good and that advance the president's agenda.